Welcome to today's live stream. Today we're going to be going through Security Plus Lab 15. We're going to design a secure network, or we're going to implement secure network design. Kind of an odd way to say it. We're going to design that secure network, and we're going to use mostly Windows Active Directory, Internet Information Services, and some other tools. So let's go ahead and get started. Remember, if you have any questions, please leave a comment or email info@cyberkrafttraining.com. Be happy to answer your questions for you. All right. So let's go ahead and start this lab. In this activity, we're going to configure an internal web server for HTTPS connectivity and create a secured connection to an internal web application. Okay, and then we're going to do some DHCP and some IP addressing. This is kind of a review of some concepts from Network Plus if you've taken the Network Plus, but if you haven't, that's fine. You don't need Network Plus to take your Security Plus, but it does help. Okay, so it's asking us to log on to MS1. I'm at MS1 right now and I'm logged on. And to open up IIS, or Internet Information Services, you do this by Tools and then IIS. You can do it that way. All right, and we're going to, in the Connections pane, we're going to select the MS1 server icon. On the Home pane, we're going to open the certificate applet. So we click here on the left, MS1, and then we have an applet, one of these shortcuts to server connections, and that's going to be server connections somewhere around here. Oh, server certificates. There it is. Okay. You can just double click on that. And we're going to create a domain certificate here. We could just right click in here to create the domain certificate. You can also use the actions on the right hand side. So I'm going to go ahead and create domain certificate. As often as possible, and try and show you some different ways to do it other than what they show you here. And I invite you to follow along with this. I think it's just lagging. Yeah, it's just lagging a little bit. Sometimes these labs can be a little slow. Okay, so now we're going to put the information in for the certificate. For brevity, to make this a little faster, I'm going to go ahead and use the typing feature. I do invite you to try and type all this out. Now, the common name follows a certain nomenclature. Updates.corp.515support.com. Okay, so it's kind of like in a reverse order. 515support.com is the hierarchy there, and corp and updates. So kind of goes in reverse order. Think of a pyramid built upside down, apparently. Okay, so then we have organization 515 support. This is going to be for the ITOU, the organizational unit. City or locality is going to be Chicago, Illinois, in the United States. And then we're going to select a certificate authority. Remember, we have a certificate authority that will manage our certificates. So we're going to go ahead and select, and we have one. We have a CA already, 515 support CA. So we're going to go ahead and select that. And then we're going to make a friendly name in there just to make it easier for us to identify this. And we're going to type in this, updates.corp515support.com, domain issued certificate. So this friendly name should be something that you'll recognize pretty easily. Okay. Now, let's see. After a few seconds, the certificate request will be granted. Basically, what we're doing is we're creating the certificate, and then we're linking that to the certificate authority. So we're creating a certificate request here. We're requesting that the CA will issue the certificate for us. So it's going to take a little bit of time, and you see how the blue line is working there. Shows us that's working. And now we have that certificate issued by 515 support CA, and it gives us an expiration date of 2 years in the future. It gives us a hash of the certificate and the certificate to store. We can double click this to see some details here. Issuer 515 support CA. Let's see. So our root CA is going to be 515 support CA, and that's right there. Issuer, common name. And we can also look at the certification path. That shows us this in more detail too. 515 support CA is the root CA, and then, or the root certificate here, the root CA. And the status is it's okay. All right, and then we said that was 2 years for our validity. And let's see. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and close that out. So pretty easy way to issue or create your own certificates using IIS, and you'd want to do this if you want to implement any sort of encryption between your devices. All right, now we're going to use this certificate to implement HTTPS. All right, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to go back to IIS. We're going to go to MS1, I think. Let's see. Sites node. Wait a minute. Okay, we got to click this down caret or click here. And then we have the sites node that comes up on the left. Click that, the down arrow, and then we're going to go ahead and click on default website. It gives us a whole new set of applets here. We're going to see where's default website. It's going to be somewhere here. Wait, we need to click. Oh, okay. We're just clicking on the sites. So we can either right click on default website on the left here. We're not looking at these applets in the middle. We're going to right click on default website, and then we're going to go to edit bindings. Okay. Now, right now, all our communication's happening over HTTP, which is unsecure, of course, port 80. So we want to have that HTTPS traffic, so we're going to add a binding here. Okay. In the host, we're going to want to select that, I think, as HTTPS so far. IP address, we'll leave that as unassigned. We're going to type in this as the host. And we're going to select that certificate that we had. Yeah, we have to select this HTTPS. Yep, okay. I kind of skipped that step, but that's the assumption. Okay, so we're going to select that, and then we're going to go ahead and add the site binding. We're going to leave the IP address alone. Okay, and now we have that site binding. So now we have this certificate being used to provide our secure web traffic. Now, we can also go a step further. We can right-click on HTTP, or we just click on it actually, and then hit remove. And we can remove the site binding for port 80 for unsecure web traffic, so we can force a secure connection at all times. And if you're not using HTTPS, you're not going to get a connection. All right, so we're going to close that out. And it's going to ask us, why did we remove the HTTP option? Okay, and that's because we don't want to have unsecure connections to the web server. Okay, now we're going to require the website to require, or configure the website to require basic authentication. So we're going to go to default website, this node again. All right, and now we're going to use these applets, I believe. Authentication applet. Right there. Open that up. Or we right click on it. And then we go to anonymous authentication. I don't think we can find that in the right click menu. So we'd have to use this right side here. So let's say we need to go to anonymous authentication and we have to disable it. Let's find that. Oh, okay, there we go. I thought I tried to open it. It wasn't opening, but we just had to double click a little harder Sometimes the lab will lag up, so lose your double clicks. So if that happens, try again. Okay, so I was double clicking. I didn't double click well enough. My double click skills were subpar there. Okay, but that time it worked. Anonymous authentication, we can right click that and hit disable. The actions bar has the same things. The action bar is always going to be the same as the right click bar, okay, or the right click menu. So we go ahead and disable. Basic authentication, we want to enable that because now we have HTTPS, and then we're okay. Now, basic authentication on its own is still a risk because the authentication information is going to be sent in plain text. Okay. Now, on an intranet, usually you would use Windows authentication, and not basic authentication. But for this lab activity, we're just going to be using basic authentication. So these are the two settings we're doing here. Okay. So now we're going to go ahead and test our credentials. We're going to go over to the PT1, the Kali server. Okay. And we're going to sign on, root, and then password. PA $W0RD. All right, we're going to open up Firefox. We're going to try to establish unencrypted connection over HTTP. And what do you guys think is going to happen when we try and do this one? Right. Yeah, this should not work because we disabled that. If it does work, we did something incorrect. So this should not work because we disabled port 80 and unsecure connections. So let's go ahead and try that. It's going to try and make an attempt or try and connect that. And that's not going to work. Now, what's another way we can do this? We can also do, we can have a terminal and we could ping by a certain, we could do an Nmap scan, we can do pings on different ports. We can do lots of different ways to do this. So is the HTTP connection successful? No. And then we're going to stop that. And I could just do HTTPS here. And then we should be able to, this one thing to note about this one has some extra, it has one extra period in here, okay? Oh, actually, no, I missed a period in the beginning. So, of course, it's not going to work anyway. Let me try that again, just to be proper here. Do the HTTP connection. I missed the period between corp and 515support.com. It's still not going to work. So whenever we do this now, we're going to try HTTPS. HTTPS. And then we do get a connection here. Of course, the certificate is being recognized as self-signed because it's being signed internally. And now we're establishing a secure connection. It's going to ask us for credentials here. Okay. And the following is stated as a reason. The warning, we should have looked at that real quick. Let's take a look. It's not going to give us that. It's going to say, I believe the site attempts to identify itself with invalid information. Essentially, the certificate's being self-signed. Now, if you received a warning from the web browser, why would you accept the certificate anyway? Well, we know that the certificate is actually issued by an internal certificate authority, not by a public certificate authority. That's why we can trust it because, well, first off, we were the ones who set it up. So we should be trusting our own certificates. If you don't trust your own certificates, you need to get a little more confidence in your work. But yeah, so we know that that's a trusted internal certificate authority. It's not going to be recognized. And the reason it's not recognized by the browser is because it's not in the browser's root certificate store. So like most websites will register their certificates with a public certificate authority like DigiCert or GoDaddy. And those public certificate authorities will ensure that their certificates, their root certificates, or a representation of them are in each browser's root certificate store. That's why Firefox can recognize a certain website is secure or not. But we haven't registered this with Firefox, so the Firefox browser is not going to recognize that. Okay, so now our information here, our credentials are going to be 515 support /administrator. And make sure administrator is capitalized and you spelled it correctly. I think I spelled that correctly. And then password is the normal password. And for some reason, they don't let you type this in with the helpers for whatever reason. So now we're signed in with those credentials. We're signed in on the as the admin. Okay. All right. Now, here, our connection, we have the padlock showing that we have an HTTPS connection. It says it's not secure again because of it's recognizing the certificate as being self-signed. But still, we have an HTTPS connection here. Okay. And it's going to be, well, it does give us a warning. So that's not entirely secure. Connection is not secure, right? This is the correct answer. And that's a little better answer there, even though this icon indicates that there is a warning here. All right, so we've established our secure connection. Great job. All right, so now we're going to work with DHCP, Dynamic Host Configuration Protocol. Let's go ahead and do that. Again, we're going to go back to MS1, and this lab has a few other resources. I don't think we use DC1 in this lab, but let's see. Okay. All right, go back to Server Manager, and then we're going to go Tools, and we're going to go DHCP. All right. Now we can set this up for IPv4 or IPv6. We're going to right-click here, or we can look at more actions. Either one, it's the same thing. All right, which option is offered in MS1 Corp 515support.com context menu regarding active DHCP, Active Directory DHCP authorization status? Let's see. Well, it gives us the unauthorized option there. So that's right at the top. It's kind of a weird question. I think they just want to make sure that you know how to right click on this icon. But yeah. So basically, remember everything on the right side, the actions, is going to be mirrored by your right click menu. All right, so we're going to select IPv4 and we get some additional options that show up. And we're going to create a new scope here. Right click, new scope. We'll get the new scope wizard. Go ahead and click next. We're going to type in a name and a description. And we don't need a description according to this. You can put whatever you want in there. Start IP 10.2.0.10. Ending IP 10.2.0.20. The length is going to be fine. We're going to put a subnet 255.255.255.0. Okay. Should be fine there. Hit next. We shouldn't have any exclusions or delays here, I don't think. Nope, that should be fine. Now, these are addresses you don't want to be using here, but we're not going to exclude any of these addresses. So say you wanted to put something out of the scope, like we could put 10. Say we want to exclude two of these, 10.2.0. 10.2.0.13 to 10.2 10.0.14. So say we want to have everything in between 10 to 20, but we want to exclude 13 to 14. Okay, so we could do that, and I'll do that as an example here. And then we're just going to go ahead and hit next. Lease duration, that's fine. We're going to keep that as is. And then we say, yes, I want to configure these options now. Now the default gateway we're going to put is 10.2.0.1. And we're going to hit add. Okay. And then we're going to go ahead, parent domain, keep that as is. Next. Not going to put any Win servers on there. And then yes, I want to activate this scope now. Finish. Okay, now we have a new scope for special project. Now we can right click this, display statistics. For some reason, display statistics is not working. I wonder if it's taking some time to spin up. Oh no, I have to select it here. There we go. Yeah, you have to select it on the left, not through IPv4 here. These are just the contents of the IPv4 configurations we have. So you have to select it at the node on the left, and then you can right-click this node, display the statistics. Okay. Total address is 11, in use 0, available 11. Now we can, you can use this to see if the IP addresses that are being allocated using DHCP, remember DHCP is used to create local IP addresses or private IP addresses from a public IP address. You can see if those are being allocated correctly, or the numbers what you should, or say you have 6 devices on the network, do you have 6 IP addresses in use right now? Maybe you can use this to determine if you have any rogue access points, for example. So we have 11. That's correct. And we can close that out. Now we have another scope here, 515 support scope. I click that. And then we're going to select reservations. Okay. We're going to select 10.1.0.10. We're going to right click this and hit properties. Here are the properties. We have a MAC address here and our description here, LX1 CentOS. So this is going to be our CentOS or a CentOS machine that's being served by this IP address. Now we can delete this if we like. So to do that, we're going to copy this MAC address. Okay. Hit cancel. We're going to go ahead and delete that. I think that's this one. Let me check again. So it should be, hold on, let me double check I'm doing this right before we delete this. Do this, select reservations. Select this reservation. Or here. Okay, left-hand pane, right click, 10, go to properties, copy the value from the MAC address, we have that, hit cancel. Now delete CentOS from 515 support scope. Let's find that, 515 support scope. Should be this one. So let's go ahead and delete that one. Pretty sure that's correct. Okay. Now we're going to go ahead and select reservations in the special project scope. We don't have any reservations there. So essentially what we're doing is we're moving this reservation from the 515 support scope to the special project scope. I believe that's what we're doing here. All right, right click reservations. Yeah, new reservation. Okay, new reservation. We'll be pasting that MAC address that we had copied. And we're going to go ahead and type this in as CentOS. IP address, we're going to put in 10.2.0.15. Glad I didn't exclude 15 from that list. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to use this here. Okay, LX1 Consultant Special Project is our description, and that's just for us to realize or us to recognize this. And then we're going to keep that supported types as both. Okay. We're going to hit add, and then close. Okay, now we see our CentOS. That wasn't listed as CentOS here, so that could be very confusing. Before it was listed as 10.1.0.10, not as CentOS, so a little confusing there. I can see how that could throw a lot of people off. And I haven't had questions on this lab before. Okay. Let's see. Filters. We're going to select filters under IPv4. All right, we're going to right click on allow or open allow and then new filter. Okay. We're going to paste that MAC address that we still have hanging out on our clipboard. If you're actually doing this in a real world setting, please be sure to copy whatever you pasted or copy whatever you copied, put it in a different document, put it in Notepad or something. Don't just leave things hanging up in your clipboard. If you have to restart the computer or you have any sort of glitch, you're going to lose that information. So don't trust your clipboard. Moral of the story. Okay. We're going to enter LX1 consultant computer into the description field. Okay. So basically what we've done here, I think the idea behind this scenario is, we're bringing in a consultant. They're going to be using LX1. So we're going to put them from our 515 support scope to a special project scope, their own scope, so that we can easily manage that scope and enable it or disable it whenever we need to. Maybe the consultant leaves, we disable that scope instead of putting it grouped in with all the other support scopes. So, this is a pretty practical use case. You might have this happen at your workplace. A little roundabout way of doing this, but this is fairly realistic, I'd say. Okay, so we're going to add that. That's in there now. And then we're going to close that out. Right click on IPv4. Go to properties. Go to filters. And then we're going to enable the allow list. The allow list is what we just created. Apply that. Hit OK. All right. And now what we have is we have a reservation for the 550, the Kali, the CentOS machine in our special project scope. We have the CentOS reservation, and we've kept the 515 support reservation as is. So we moved one from here to here. Basically, we created a new reservation in special project. We deleted the old reservation. Honestly, if you were to do this in the real world, I would advise creating the new reservation before deleting the old reservation, just to be sure. But, the way we did this was fine. Okay, comprehensive question. So, I hope this was pretty helpful. Let's make sure these questions are comprehensive. All right. What information is used by DHCP to identify the client computer during the IP address lease attempt? That's a fair question. What do you guys think? What information is used by DHCP to identify the client computer during the IP address lease attempt? All right, MAC address. Yep. And that's the reason why we had to copy the MAC address, okay, from when we move the CentOS. The MAC address was the identifying information that's used by DHCP to identify the computer. So you can imagine, say you have some sort of MAC spoofing, how that can be used to take advantage of DHCP. All right. Oh, hey, congratulations on passing your Security Plus. That's great. Hey, that's fantastic. I'm glad the videos are helpful for you. Thank you. All right, which of the following best describes the purpose of the allow filter? The allow filter permits IP address leases to any host listed by MAC addresses. Okay. Allow filter blocks IP address leases to any host listed by MAC addresses. The allow filter defines the host names the computer is allowed to lease IP addresses. Where the allow filter permits the DHCP server to lease IP addresses. Okay, so what do you guys think is the answer for this one? Okay, so you want to think about the way the allow filter works, right? Because you guys want to try. Now, allow filter is always going to permit something. A deny filter is going to block something. So if it says the allow filter blocks, you know that's not correct. Okay? Now, the allow filter defines, that's not the best answer here. Allow filter permits is what we want to see. So we're going to narrow it down to these two. And it's going to permit certain IP address leases to any host listed by MAC addresses. It's a weird way of saying that, but yeah. Based on the MAC address, it's going to permit a lease to a specific MAC address, whatever MAC addresses we've allowed. And let's look at our filters. Our allow filter is this MAC address. So it's going to permit leases to that MAC address. If we put other MAC addresses in there, then it would allow leases to those MAC addresses. The allow filter permits the DHCP server to lease addresses. That's correct, but it doesn't tell us how it does it, how it identifies what to permit. So this is the best answer. Maybe the double period is a tell on this question. No, don't rely on that. Okay. All right, so great. Yeah, we got all the questions right. Went through. That was pretty straightforward. We didn't use DC1 at all, but I think that's just there as part of the infrastructure. And I hope I was able to show you some tricks outside of just the lab activity. Remember when you go through these labs, try on your own. You're not going to break the lab. Go for different ways of doing things. You know, work outside the box. And again, if you guys have any questions, please let me know. Leave a comment or info@cyberkrafttraining.com. And if you're looking for Security Plus training, please check the link in the description. I run classes every month on Security Plus. And with any of my classes, I guarantee a first-time pass. Classes come with the exam voucher and a second voucher if you don't pass in the first try. You get full access to CompTIA Learn Labs environment, and you get my custom video course with 25 hours of video lessons. So if you like my teaching style, you're going to have 25 hours of that. I go through every single topic you're going to see on the Security Plus exam. I appreciate you guys joining in today. Thanks so much. Have a wonderful day.